Hi guys, how's it going? Oh, I hope you guys are having a great month so far. It's, gosh, a third of the way through March, and we had almost 60 degrees yesterday in Spokane, and I was like, woohoo, summer's coming. Anyway, so I have brought home some new, I guess we would call them watercolor type coloring books. Some were in my last video, you know, like a haul video, I suppose. And I hate that word for some reason. I just don't really, I don't know. I wish we could think of a new word for it. Anyway, new to me coloring books. And some are from Amazon Japan, Korean, maybe one or two are Japanese. I also have this one. Can't remember where it came from, but I think I might have even ordered this from Lyrica. I don't remember, but anyway, so I've got that, and then this is one of those Green Ivy books. It was a soft cover book, and mine basically cracked in half, and so I've just disassembled the book and put it into a binder. So yeah, so there's that. And basically what I'm wanting to do is test out a bunch of different water media in all of these books. You know, it's really hard to know if paper has been sized, you know, to be used for watercolor. And yeah, I mean, other than to test it. And so one of the things that I'm looking for is, well, there's a few things I'm looking for when I'm doing this. One of them is to know whether paper has been sized is if you can actually lift color, especially just plain regular watercolor. If you're able to actually lift some of that color out. And the reason that I want to know that is because that's one of the ways that you can create really beautiful clouds in skies and things like that. So also blending color on the paper. So when you want to do that, you need your color to sort of sit on top of the surface of the paper, at least for a little while, so that you're able to add two colors to a section and blend them together with your brush or whatever, without having it, you know, just immediately suck into the paper. And that helps you get smooth gradients, smooth color blends, and sort of reduces the streaking that you can get when papers just suck up, you know, the water. So I've got a few different things that I want to try. First off is my, well, these aren't the clean color, but they're basically the same. So in case you didn't know, these Fudubiori markers by Kuretake are the same colors. They do match the clean color line, just FYI. I watched a video, coloring chemist Connie did a video a while back with some of her, she had purchased some dot markers or something, and was just like, she went down this rabbit hole of this whole zig color system and whether, you know, what as far as color matching and that kind of thing. But anyway, Connie, if you ever watch this video, I just want you to know that these do match. And these are a brush tip, but it's like a firm brush tip. It's basically just brush shaped. But these colors do match you know, across the two different products. Anyway, so I'd like to try some of these markers. I'm trying to find a couple of greens. Just try a couple of greens. And then, so I want to try those. And I'd also like to try some ink tints. So I'm just trying to pull like a lime green and sort of like a leaf green or sap green or something from these different products. And then I'd also like to try my watercolor pencils. So these are Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. A couple of greens. And then I also, not sure if everybody's aware, but these acrylic markers are really cool to use as like a water medium or water media because they are not waterproof. You can move them once they've dried with a water brush. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so I want to try these in there. And then also, I'd like to try some Neocolor. A couple of Neocolors. Neocolor 2. And I know this is a lot, but I'd sort of like to try some gouache. And this is my just 24 color set of Holbein gouache that I put into pans. And then just regular watercolor. This is a set of Holbein watercolor. And then I'd also like to try some Gansai type watercolor. This is a cheap set that I got off of Amazon. They're the Kohlrabi Gansai Tambi style watercolors. But I like these because they come in small little pans. Anyway, so I want to try all this stuff. And I'm going to try to do it as, you know, kind of as, I guess, quickly, efficiently as possible. So that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8 different products. So let's see what happens. Let me put some of these over there. So let's start with this book. Now, I've already done a page in this book, and I think I can't remember what I did this with. I honestly don't remember. I think it was a lot of watercolor pencil. But anyway, and there was things that I liked about it and things that I didn't really like about it. So I just want to try some other products in there. So I'm trying to find something. Well, let's just do it on this page because I'm pretty sure this is the same paper. And I'll do it on the white part where nothing has been printed on. Sometimes you'll notice when you're working in water media on these coloring books that the ink around, like the line work, will sometimes act as a barrier so that your ink doesn't spread past that. And it's kind of cool. Like you can use that to your advantage, you know. Let me grab some brushes and a little paper towel. And we'll see what happens. So, and I've just got a few different water brushes. I've got some regular paint brushes that I use when I'm coloring. Okay, so let's just try the the Zig Clean Color brushes first. See how this goes. So let's do Zig Clean Color. So I'm just gonna kind of pretend that I am coloring. So I like to blend on the paper with these. And it seems like it's working okay. And there's a lot of different ways that you can use these pens, or this type of pen or marker, to get much better, gradation or whatever. As far as blending on the paper, sometimes you sort of have to wait until it dries to see what happens, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be able to actually move the color around with the pen itself, rather than sort of leaving it to just mix and blend on its own, if that makes sense. So I'm going to say at this point, I'm not super happy with the way those work on this paper. So let's try the Inktense. Where's my pencil? Let's try the Inktense. Let's just go up here with them. And I'm pretty sure this is going to work pretty well, because this media doesn't necessarily soak right into the paper anyway. But, sometimes it will. Depends on the paper. I know that sometimes when I use Inktense on like mixed media paper, it's not sized heavily. So sometimes it is kind of hard to move around. So at this point, like I said, I'm really just looking to see if I'm able to blend on the paper, because that's what I do a lot of the time when I'm coloring, is I just sort of messily put my colors down, and then I use my water brush to basically move the color where I want it and blend it. So looks like it is grabbing, the paper is actually grabbing the pencil, and I'm still seeing, lines from the pencil. But Inktense is kind of weird in that it's really, I don't know if I want to say waxy, but it's kind of like, it has this weird resistance when you're drawing with it or coloring with it, which makes you sort of want to press harder. So anyway, let me sharpen this guy just a little bit. And this book, I don't think is necessarily intended to be used with water media. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't read it. But get this little stem. That water brush I was using is really wet. Seems like the watercolor pencil actually dissolves really, really well on this paper. I'm not seeing any lines left over from the pencil, which is nice compared to the ink tints. So this is just watercolor pencil. And then let's try some Neocolor 2s. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat in the background. He's having a tantrum about something and I can't really figure it out what it is. I think he's building up the zoomies. So it seems like this is dissolving pretty easily on this paper. And I know that a lot of people like to take the color off of the crayon when they use these. And I do that sometimes, not always, but that's not really what I'm trying to figure out in this little experiment. Okay, and then let's try the acrylic marker. I'm gonna say specifically the Artex acrylic. So let's see. Do the little veins. And I would let that dry, but it dries really fast, actually. So that's not really what I'm looking for. So you can see that it does move with water. Not as well on this paper, though, as it does on some papers. It might work better with a stiffer brush. So a paper that was more heavily sized, these markers are extremely water soluble. So this paper is definitely sucking up that ink. Let me just show you, because it is actually pretty cool. So I'll just scribble out some of this. This is watercolor paper. So I know that this is a sized paper. See, it really does move quite a bit on watercolor paper, but I couldn't really get it to move at all on this paper. So I won't be using the acrylic markers on this paper for sure. And then lastly, I just want to see, I don't necessarily think it's necessary to to try the gouache, because I don't think I would really be, I mean, if watercolor works well, then I'm pretty sure that gouache would work well. So let's try this is the Gansai type paint. Let's see, I want to try it on a leaf. I don't want to do it on the flower. Let's just do this little leaf. And I kind of want to add a lot of water. So I'm gonna lay this down. Okay, so that's the Gant's eye. I'm gonna lay it down. I'm gonna let it basically dry. Not all the way, but sort of. And then I'm gonna see if I can get any of the color to lift. And I'm not worrying about blending it necessarily. I just want to see if I can lift it, because I know I can blend it. I can pretty much blend watercolor on just about anything. I mean, not anything, but you know what I mean. Paper is definitely buckling. I'm gonna try dropping in some color. See what that does. This is oops, there. See how that does. And I'm just gonna take a little paper towel and see if I can lift anything out of there. So that's actually working. Yeah, that's not too bad. So this hasn't dried though. So that's, you know, that's also something to think about is often when you watercolor, like on watercolor paper, you'll, well, not often, but sometimes paint will have dried and you want to see if you can get it to lift even after the paint has dried. So I really feel like but you need to use water and a brush and sort of scrub that area with a damp brush and then use your paper towel to dab off the color. But I feel like if I do that on this, it's going to start pilling the paper. So I don't really want to do that. Anything that I did as far as lifting using watercolor on this paper in this book, I would do before the paint had a chance to dry totally. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so I'm pretty happy with the watercolor pencil. Pretty happy with the Neocolor 2. Definitely not the Artex markers. Not this method of blending with the Zig clean color. And I feel like either the Gansai or the regular Holbein watercolor would work, you know, for the most part in this book. But definitely not I'm not real happy with the ink temps either. So anyway, so that's that book. So let's try this one. This is the Urban Coloring on Such a Wonderful Day. Old and worn out stores that I suddenly discovered. Anyway, so sometimes with these books, you have to go through a few pages before you get to an area where you're actually into the same type of paper that they use throughout the book. I don't want to test on any of my images that I'm going to color and I want to test. So sometimes paper, I mean, most of the time, especially watercolor paper, it has a front and a back side. Like, generally when they're making paper and sizing it, they completely submerge the paper in the sizing in the bath. And so the front and the back are both sized. But sometimes sizing is only applied on the front of paper. So the front and the back can sometimes act differently. And also the texture is sometimes different from the front to the back. Anyway, so I want to try this on the front side. This is a page that definitely is the same as what it would be for the images. So this would be the back side of the paper, this would be the front. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So my testing I want to do on this side. Anyway, so I just want to see if I can blend. I don't have anything to like color in, so I'm just gonna kind of scribble around and see if I can get these to move. So again, not really moving, and this one is definitely intended to be a watercolor book. So I'm just gonna try adding a little bit of water and see how much blending I can do like that. Not super great. So if I was gonna use the clean color markers in this book and I wanted to blend colors, I would either scribble them out on a palette, like on a plate or something, and then apply them with a paintbrush, but I think that kind of defeats the whole point. Or I could blend colors in my pen and just color them on like that. So that's something that I started doing again recently, and it's really fun. Okay, so let me mark that. So this is the clean color, and then let's try ink tints. Let's try the ink tints up here somewhere. One really nice thing about using ink tints in coloring books is that since it does dry permanent once it's been activated, it's easy to, after you let it dry, it's easy to then go back over it with other water media. So if you need to, you know. So you can kind of layer on it because it won't lift. So you could, you know, basing with ink tints is really nice if you'd like to come back in with other water media, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's try these. Let's try these guys. So let's do... see if we can get these to blend. Yep, it's not working on this paper. It's definitely not working on this paper. But it definitely works on watercolor paper. So that kind of makes me think that there's really not that much sizing in this paper. You can blend in the pen with these, and these are also relatively transparent. Not every color in the range is transparent, but they are pretty much transparent. So this is Artex. Okay, and then this is the watercolor pencil. And these Arbor are very soluble, so that's really nice. Whoops. Went to take the cap off, but it's already off. Adding just a little more water. Kind of heavy on the water to see how that goes. It's okay. It's okay. I did get the colors to blend pretty well. Let's try some ink tints. Pretending this is kind of like a leaf shape. I need a little more water. I'd say that the Neocolor 2 behaves pretty much the same as the watercolor pencil. And I like it. Okay. So let's try the watercolor. Let's try some watercolor on here. I don't know if this is helpful to anybody other than me, but I thought, you know, whoops, ooh, that's way too much water. I thought we might as well try this together. Okay, there's kind of a wash there. Whoops. Okay, and then I want to try the Gansai over here. I like the way the watercolor feels on this paper for sure. It feels good. I want to see how it can lift though. Let's see, a little bit of Gansai with quite a bit of water. Just trying to see if I can create some interesting color blends there, just like in a wash, basically. Anyway, I want to work on something a little larger to do that. But let's see if this any of this color will lift. Get the paper a little bit more wet. Yeah, I'm actually able to pull some of the pigment out of the paper. Gansai seems like maybe it's stuck in a little bit more, but it could be because I had more water on there. So happy with either of those options in here. The clean color, even as the water has, you know, set on there, hasn't really blended that much. Definitely not the Artex. I don't think that the pencil to paper method with ink tints will work very well. I don't think I'd be super happy with it in this book. I do like the Neo color. It's softer though, you know. It's a lot softer than ink tints. So it works well when just applying directly to paper, and then, you know, that's what I mean. I know that you can take it from the tip with a brush. I know you can do that with any of this stuff. It's just, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to probably just use paint, you know. Anyway, and then the Gansai, I think, is great, and the, you know, regular watercolor, I think, is great. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. We go back and look at this one. Yeah, I think watercolor's great in that book. Okay, let's try this one. This is the Four Seasons, Draw the Four Seasons, JJ's Emotional Watercolor Coloring Book. So I gotta find a page that I can color, that I can play on. And I think this is going to be my best option here on this page. So I'm not going to even bother with the acrylic pens anymore at this point. And I think I pretty much know how these are going to behave on, well, I'm going to try it anyway. Let's just try it. I just want to see if I'm able to blend this water-based ink on the paper just using the pens. And, you know, actually, I'm glad I sort of decided to try it, because I think it's working. I'd really have to dig in there, though, with this darker color to pull it out, in order to pull it out into the lighter green. So the paper is going to suffer for that, but definitely I could blend pen and pen, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. So this is clean color. And then let's just test some watercolor pretty quick here. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to actually just use a brush. A regular brush. And try some. I could probably use a bigger brush, but I'm going to kind of wet it a little bit more. See if these colors will sort of blend on the paper. Let's try the watercolor. So the reason that I'm kind of looking at the Gansai paint differently is because it has a different binder in it. And you know, I don't know how if that binder will assist in helping me with what I want to do. you know, or what, you know, like I'm trying to decide, like, is the Gansai paint better or the regular watercolor paint better in this book? So that's basically, and it's because this has basically an animal glue binder, and this doesn't. It has a, oh my god, the word is like right on my tongue. Yeah, not animal glue. Anyway, but both of them look pretty amazing on this paper. Just saying. Let's try the Neocolor too. See if we can get this to blend nicely, which it probably will. I think this is nice paper. It's pretty heavy. It will handle some scrubbing. Not sure about how this is working. Even as it's drying, it's not really blending out. And the Neocolor is great. Watercolor pencil. Dissolves really well on the paper. Totally blended out. So, watercolor pencil. This is the Holbein, and this is the Gansai. I want to see if I can get any lifting over here on either of these. A little bit. Watercolor seems to lift a little better than the Gansai. The Western watercolor, let's call it. So, yeah, I like any of these, and I really want to use my clean color markers in these, but I'm gonna have to be. I think I can use them. It's just a matter of, you know, method. I didn't try the ink tints in here, did I? Let's just try the ink tints real quick. It's actually blending out pretty nice on this paper, which is really great. Better than the first two. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain why I don't like it on those other two. It's almost like the something about the paper just grabs the pigment so much that it was difficult to dilute it, like to dissolve it with the water. But this one, it seems like it's holding on the surface just a little bit better. So I'm going to say I think this paper it has more sizing, which doesn't surprise me because it's actually pretty heavy, you know, thick paper. Anyway, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm excited. I just want to work in these books, and it's, you know, I don't want to ruin my page, but, you know, with, you know, like say, okay, I'm going to work with this media in this book, and then sit down to do it, and, you know, and it just doesn't work, and then you're just fighting with it the whole time. So I just kind of want to know ahead of time, like what, if I feel like using pencils, watercolor pencils, I know which books to reach for, you know? Anyway, so these books, this is one of the ones where all of the, like, sample images are in a separate book. And there's tutorials that go along with each one with the QR codes and that kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. The only place where they've actually used this paper is on the pages where you would color. And so really the only place for me to test it, there's no like introduction pages or anything like that. There's no like extra pages in this book. Not even the back page is a different type of, you know, it's not the same type of paper. So in order to test this one, I'd have to do it in the margin on one of the images. And I just don't think I want to do that. I'm just going to have to take a chance when it comes to working on it. And, you know, I'll report back to you guys later, I guess. In this one, I've had this one for a while, and I haven't done anything in it. I don't really know why. I think that in this case, for this book, I think it has such a specific, like, style, or not style, but like vibe, in that it is very vintagey, right? That you kind of have to be in a certain mood to work in this, especially if you're somebody like me who loves like bright, bold colors, you know? So it is a little hard to get excited about working in this book, but that's not to say that I don't like it. Like, I do like it, and sometimes I do feel like I want to work on something like that. And I know that I don't have to make my image look like that. I know that, but you're always kind of like tempted to do that anyway if the image is there. So anyway, I'm just human, right? Anyway, so I want to test some stuff in this book, but let's see if I have any pages where I can do, oh, that's right. I remember I was going to test this in the back somewhere. I'm trying to see if there's one that I don't think I would ever color. Actually, I'm going to try it. I'm just going to try it on this one. Even though I can't really do any washes or anything on this. I don't know. I have to like, I guess I don't really need to, I could use one of these divider pages. I wish there was a better test page. Let's see. There's no test page? Usually they have some kind of page where you can test your supplies, you know? Anyway, I'm just going to do it on here because this is the same paper as it is throughout the rest of the book. So I think for the most part in here, I would probably be tempted to use my watercolor pencils. I probably wouldn't want to use these because the colors in these just don't really, you know, jive. And, yeah. Anyway, so let's just try it out. So this is the watercolor pencil. And I am relatively heavy-handed, so, ooh, that actually dissolves really nicely. Yeah, that's nice. So, so in order to like tone these down, I could just add a small amount of a complementary color into this little blend to kind of knock it down a little bit, or even some graphite. So this is watercolor pencil. Let's try the Inktense, because that could be fun. So I'm kind of assuming that if the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils work well, then my Graphitint is going to work, and you know, any other like watercolor pencils that I have. I don't really consider Inktense to be in the same category as watercolor pencils, because they're really not. Like, they're made with ink instead of, you know, pigment. Oh, what am I doing? Sometimes I use these to blend out colors. I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, yeah, sometimes I use those to blend out colors. Which you can do. You can do that with, I don't know if you realize that, but, or if you ever thought about that, but like, if you these are water-based pens, so you can use these to activate dry water media, you know, and it's kind of cool because you can do that and get a gradient at the same time. You're just kind of blending the two products together, you know. So what was that? Oh, that was Inktense, and that actually worked pretty nice, even though I blended it with something else. Or activated it with something else. Let's try the Neocolor. Down here on the bottom. I can definitely see the remnants of my markings on there. I don't know if you guys, can you see that? It's kind of weird, like right there. Anyway, I don't know. Don't know how I feel about the Neocolor. Okay, let's try the, I'm gonna get a bigger brush. Like, really a little bit bigger brush. Okay, let's just try this. I'm just gonna do it on here, even though there's all this writing there. Kind of adding a lot of water. I don't know if you can see it, but it really is absorbing into the paper pretty quickly, and it's causing these little dots. And I know that I used a lot of water. I know I did, but if I want to be able to do any kind of washes or anything, like, that's what I think is important about this book in particular, is being able to do some kind of a wash, because see, like this, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, but yeah, this paper just totally absorb. And I haven't even been looking at the back of the rest of those papers. Were so thick that I didn't really worry about whether or not the paper or the water was coming through. But this one, I think I definitely need to be super careful about how much water I use, because you can see it's coming through. It has absorbed the water so fast that I can't even really try to lift anything. So I'm going to say watercolor in these books, or in this book, is probably a no-go. I mean, at least for that type of technique, you know. Like, I don't think, like, wet and wet washes are going to work very well in this book. So this is the whole bind. No. What is this? This is the Gansai. This is the whole bind. The one thing I will say is that, like, often, like, the metallic or iridescent watercolors, they behave a lot differently than regular watercolors do. So even if you can't use, like, regular watercolor in a book, often you can still use those, because they just don't... Gum Arabic, that's the word I was trying to think of. They don't really have the same types of binders either as, you know, normal watercolors. And also, they don't sometimes have that much in the way of I want to say pigments, but I don't know. Since a lot of them have mica in them, they just, I don't know, they just behave differently. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of disappointing, but the watercolor pencil is nice. The Inktense is nice. So I just want to see real quick. And I'm using two colors that have a pretty dramatic difference. Like, yeah, these just do not move at all. Like, they're just, like, sucked right into the paper. I'm going to add some water on there. Oh, that just looks weird. Adding water onto it just makes the color just look weird. I don't know. Can you guys see that? It's like it made it almost kind of like milky looking. Ugh. Anyway, I'm kind of disappointed about that. But, and you know, honestly, well, I'm going to try it. I might as well try it. Might as well try it. Okay. I'm just going to try the regular watercolor. Regular watercolor. And it actually is sitting up on the paper pretty well. So that's kind of cool. Let's try the Gansai. And this paint is very, very comparable to the Kuretake. Like, honestly, I think most of the whoops, what'd I do? Most of the Gansai style paints are pretty much the same type of formulation, you know? But that seems to blend pretty well too. And you can see I still have little puddles. So that means I can come back and drop in color if I want to. Let's see. Let me just grab a little bit of this blue just to see. Whoa. So I can drop in color, which is nice. Get some cool effects doing that. So yeah, that's actually nice. That's a lot better than the Green Ivy book. Way better. Okay, let's try colored pencil. And this will be the last book that I look at today. I'm just gonna scribble out some ink tints too. And I might as well do the Neo color. And this is ink. Okay. Trying to just see like how much I can scrub too. Seems like, you know, pretty decent with the watercolor pencil. The blend is pretty decent, I mean. And I'm able to scrub a little bit. I don't feel like I'm damaging the paper. And I'm not saying like scrubbing hard, but you know, sometimes you got to scrub a little bit if you want to blend these types of media together, you know, because you're kind of like working the product out of the tooth of the paper. Not sure about the Neo color though. Trying to blend those is really a chore. Yeah, I don't think that worked very well, but I probably wouldn't use Neo color too much anyway. I'm really excited about the watercolor. Look at how well that lifted. Oh, that's great. That's the Gansai. Right? Was that the Gansai? No, this is the regular watercolor. This one's the Gansai. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, the Holbein watercolor lifted off of this really easily. Interesting. That's cool. Okay. Well, this is a little test. So, okay. I'm not happy with the Neo 2 on this paper though. The ink tints either. It's kind of giving me this weird, like, it's almost like it's creating these little white spots, you know. The watercolor pencil doesn't look like it's doing that though. Anyway, so watercolor pencil, regular watercolor, or maybe Gansai, I don't know. But yeah, so that's good to know. Okay, so that concludes this test of my my watercolor coloring books. And like I said, I will report back on what I figure out works well in this book. Okay, I'll let you guys know. Yeah, so that was pretty fun. Let me know what you think. I'm not gonna do any testing in this one either today. I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that one, but yeah. So that actually does help me out quite a bit because I've been wanting to work in kind of all of these and I just haven't really known what direction to go. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I love you, and yeah, happy coloring. Okay, bye for now.